This video is sponsored by Aquashine Exteriors, professional jet washing and cleaning services across Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, including Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. Are you feeling it's time to get that driveway nice and shiny for when you come home? Or are you wanting to get that guttering tidied up and spotless again? They deliver this, plus much, much more. Please head into the description below where you'll find their details for their website, including the socials, Facebook and Instagram. You also need to find their before and after portfolio. You can also call them on 07503 998 088 for a free quotation. Don't wait till next week. Don't think you'll do it another day. Pick up the phone, give them a call, check them out. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Cherries Red Army. We are back on YouTube on the live streams. We hope you're having a great week. We have missed this. We've been very, very busy the last couple of weeks. We've done a few recorded videos, but we're back on the live stream. I've got Matt Davies with me. We've got 3 games left in the Premier League. Lots to talk about tonight. It's going to be a bit of fun with the fans in the interactive chat. Good to see you, Matt. Going to have some fun.
Yeah, great to be here, Kirk. Feels like ages since I've done a preview or a show with you, because I think the last one I did was Leicester. That was with John. I think you were away on holiday and probably going to Leicester on the Saturday. So feels like ages, mate. Really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so some quick shout outs as well. We've had some new members join Cherries Red Army. We've had you, the monthly members that have supported the channel from the start. We've had people who have donated, and we've had some new members as well. Dave King, we've had Gemma Burney, Ollie Harrison over the last couple of weeks. Some great feedback in the comments on YouTube, new subscribers, new likes. We're so close to 1.6k. Can we get there? I'm sure you can help us by the end of this season. So do check out our details in the description below. You can support the channel to help pay for our StreamYard costs and our equipment to improve the content on the channel. And of course, hit the like on this match preview. Crystal Palace fan, Bournemouth fan, doesn't matter. Hit the like, help this video grow between now and kickoff. So lots to talk about. Lots to talk about Crystal Palace. Got lots to talk about Bournemouth. Got an opposition view. We've got your match predictions at the end of this stream. Time to get into it. We're at Selhurst Park on Saturday. Both teams are looking to bounce back after losses previously. Let's see if the Cherries can get to 40 points.
Cheeky one, square, and
Kiefer Moore. Thank you, Kiefer Moore, for the photo as well at the pub in Ferndown this weekend. Great guy. Gave me a photo, just like Matt got a photo with Jeff Lerma last season. Great guy. Thank you very much. Let's see who's joined us in the chat. Chris Hubble, how are you? Mark Singleton, great to see you in the North Stand last weekend. Not a great result, but it was great to see you, Mark. We've got Morgan Scott. Thank you very much. We've got Sammy. How are you? I feel like I haven't seen you in the chat for a long time, Sammy, but we hope you're doing well and great to see you on this interactive chat this evening. Cameron Meach, how are you? And we've also got Alan. Thank you for joining us. And earlier on, we did have Ian joining us early on, say he was looking forward to the preview. Right, Sean Woodland. Thank you very much, Sean, for joining us this evening. Matt, let's just quickly look at that league table then, because there's lots to play for still in the Premier League. There's teams trying to go for Champions League places. We're trying to make sure we're mathematically safe. Matt, Crystal Palace are 12th on 40 points. Bournemouth are 39 points in 14th. Leeds, Leicester, Southampton make up the relegation 3 at the moment. That's your current league table. Yeah, still looking okay for the Cherries.
Oh, it's looking more than okay for me, Kirk. It's looking fantastic, amazing, brilliant. You know, all call it what you want. It's as good as we could have expected to be at this point of the season, Kirk. When you look back at what the season's been like, how it's shaped, how it started, the 9-0 at Liverpool, Scott Parker going, the troubles we had in mid-season, the troubles we had after the World Cup, before the new signings came in. It was looking pretty grim. And me, ever the optimist, and me, I've always stuck. I keep saying it. I've always stuck behind the manager, always stuck behind the players. But there was even a point where I was thinking, this is a big ask. This is. I don't know if we're going to do it. But yes, overall, every Bournemouth fan has got to be absolutely delighted with where we sit in the table. Yes, we're not quite mathematically safe, but it's as good as done, isn't it? 9 points clear of the drop zone with 3 games left. Fantastic season for me, as good as it could have gone. I don't think anybody could have expected any better, really.
And Morgan said, Matt, that he had a photo with Jeff Lerma 6 seconds after you. I mean, specifically 6 seconds. So,
you
what
know
a
what
guy,
that
Jeff
was?
Lerma.
I sent him the photo. I said, "Oh, look who I've just seen in Barolo in Winton, Morgs." He literally lives about 50 yards away. So he's literally pegged it out of his house, out of the front door, into the restaurant. And then about a minute later, he's like, "Yeah, me too."
6 seconds. Morgan must be absolutely rapid down that wing. 6 seconds. This weekend, we are on the road at Selhurst Park. Couple of things to mention early on in this preview. Make sure you take some ID with you. The club have dropped a statement to say that away fans need to respect the rules, make sure it's your ticket, make sure you've got ID. There's been a few instances recently on away days, so do check out for that. We don't have a great record at Selhurst Park. We'll have a look at the head-to-heads later on, Matt. But yeah, it's a nice ground. It's a pretty easy trip to London. Selhurst Park, looking forward to it?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I've been a couple of times before. I mean, I would probably describe it as a bit of an old school stadium these days. Obviously, it's all seater, so it's modern in that respect. But it's got that old school feel to it, and that old school charm. A great atmosphere can be generated. It's quite a tight stadium. Some of the stands are quite small, quite close to the pitch, quite antiquated in many ways. Probably needs a bit of an update. It's got a raw and rugged beauty, I would describe it, I suppose. The home fans get behind their team. They create a good atmosphere, and we're going to take a good sort of 2,500-3,000 up there ourselves. So that should make for a great atmosphere all round. So it's one of those games. It's not like a Chelsea or a Man City where you sort of, or even the Emirates at Arsenal, where you're sort of going there thinking there's going to be a lot of prawn sandwich munchers here. That the atmosphere is going to be a bit flat. Bournemouth come to town, they ain't going to get too excited. It's probably one of those games where you go with a bit of an old school feel, where you think it's going to be a bit raucous, atmospheric, and a bit of passion, and a bit of character about it. So yeah, always looking forward. Always love the London away days as well.
Fantastic. Now let's go back, shall we, a little bit. I think it was New Year's Eve. It was at home. We were looking to have a party up to midnight. It wasn't really a party at home, was it? It wasn't a great performance on the day. It was the first game between the teams in the Premier League this season. Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 2. This was one of the first games of Gary O'Neill confirmed as head coach. I can't remember if he was trying new stuff. I don't recall him trying new stuff. I just don't think we really turned up. And weirdly, Palace were not in any form at all. That was one of their first wins in a long time, I think, with Patrick Vieira. And then he had a few troubles after this game. But remembering that game on that day, we sort of saw it out in the evening with a few drinks going into the new year. But yeah, it wasn't a great way to see out 2022, was it really? Bournemouth 0, Crystal Palace 2.
No, we did the Chelsea. I mean, we had Chelsea away before that. I think that was the game before. I think I came back with you, didn't I? And we did a bit of a dissection of events from Stamford Bridge in Fleet Services. And I think we both said that day, didn't we, that it wasn't great at Chelsea, and really against Crystal Palace, this is where our season has to begin again, and we've got to take the game to the visitors. They were in no sort of form at all. I actually did a pre-match preview with Crystal Palace fan on Back of the Nest, not Back of the Net, Back of the Nest, just to make that clear. And it was a great preview, but he was very negative about Palace, and he was saying they're not scoring goals, they're creating chances, but they're not putting the ball in the back of the net. He was really concerned about their form. They were on sort of a downward spiral coming down the league. So it was a real chance, I felt, for us to get our season back on track and pick up some points. But the game itself was such a damp squib, wasn't it? We never really got going from minute 1 to 90. I think it's poor defending for both of their goals from what I remember. The weather was pretty bad. The performance was flat. The crowd was flat. The atmosphere was pretty terrible, as you would expect. And it was one of those games that we have had throughout, during this season, where you sort of think, I think we're in a bit of trouble here. if we're performing like that at home to sides like Crystal Palace and, they're coming away with a 2-0 victory, then things are looking slightly bleak. And at that time, they probably were. So, I want the best way to sort of see the new year in it all, Kirk, was it really?
No, so it gave Crystal Palace a bit of a lift. We know that we had quite a few weeks after that where we didn't perform, struggled to pick up points. But coming back to Crystal Palace and Patrick Vieira, they would really struggle as well to pick up points after that game. And I'm going to show a graphic on the screen, Matt. So before Hodgson, you're looking at the crosses and the handshakes. The handshakes relate to a draw. The crosses are a loss. And before Hodgson, after that game against us, no wins. Since Hodgson's come in, 3 wins, draw, a loss, a win, a loss. And I don't know what went wrong with Patrick Vieira. I think they were playing really, really well when he first came in. I think they had a good start in the previous season, but it just tailed off a little bit for whatever reason. Maybe he was holding the team back. Hodgson came in, got 3 wins in a row. And if I can remember listening to Crystal Palace fans, he just said he let the shackles off. He let Eze play. He let Sahar play. And they got those 3 wins. That's probably saved their season. But you can see there, Roy Hodgson, there was a lot of criticism with him coming in. Did he start a trend? Now Sam Allardyce is back in the Premier League. But he got results and he's pretty much saved Crystal Palace this season as well.
Well, it's just at the time, I questioned it as a lot of football fans, but even Palace fans. I mean, I know quite a few Palace fans, and they were all saying the same thing. They were questioning Roy Hodgson coming in and saying, "Oh, what's going on? What are you doing? This is a step backwards." But the thing about it is I think Patrick Vieira, things had just gone a bit stale. He liked a possession-based game, didn't he, Patrick Vieira? But I think he'd become so pragmatic in his approach that they just weren't scoring goals. They weren't, and it got to the point where they weren't really creating enough chances as well. So it had become a concern. And I think as you rightly say, Kurt, I think once Vieira did initially go into Palace, he did sort of hit the ground running, didn't he? And they looked an impressive outfit. He looked like he was getting the best out of the players. He was managing it well. They were getting results, and they were quite easy on the eye. They were quite attractive to watch. They were playing some good football. We were linked with Patrick Vieira, weren't we, back along?
Yeah.
And you were sort of thinking, blimey, perhaps we've missed a trick here. Perhaps he's evolving into what's going to be a really good Premier League manager, and he's doing well. But he just seemed to lose his way, and I think a little bit like Eddie at Bournemouth. There's just a connect there, isn't there? Roy Hodgson, he's a local, yeah. I want to say a local lad. I mean, he's hardly a lad, is he? But local man, from the area. He's got Palace in his blood, isn't he? And when you get that connection with the fan base, the manager, and then that you can connect with the players, which he's quite clearly done. He's obviously a good man manager, Roy, and he's a good man. He's experienced. He's been around the block. He knows the game. He knows those players. So you're looking for a manager bounce, a new manager bounce, if you like, and he managed to create that. Like you say, Kirk, he let the shackles off, I think, and he just made them feel good again. I think he just reminded them what good footballers they were, what they could achieve, and let's go out, let's be positive, particularly at home. Let's use the crowd to our advantage. They got that win, didn't they? I think against Leicester in the last minute, got the rub of the green there with a late winner, and that just seemed to give the whole place a lift. And from there, we all know how important and how big momentum is in football. And momentum just swung in their favour. I think they went to Leeds and smashed them. And from there, it's all about confidence as well, isn't it? Confidence and momentum are the 2 key things in football. And they managed to pick up both of them in recent games, and they've got themselves over the line.
Danielle Gooch, I think, is in the chat. Maybe a Crystal Palace fan. Welcome to the stream. Gone with your score prediction nice and early. We'll get those score predictions from everyone later on. And Crystal Palace's form has gone very similar to us. It's wins, it's loses, it's wins, it's loses. And last time out, Matt, they went to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and they lost 1-0 to Spurs. Now, Spurs, we know, played them recently. They are a team that are not quite in form. They have got great players. They've got match winners. We know they've got Son. They've got Harry Kane. Harry Kane would be the guy that got the 3 points for Tottenham in the end. But Crystal Palace, I think they were knocking on the door late on when I was looking at the highlights, but they didn't take any points away. Matt, I don't even know how they didn't score at White Hart Lane. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because we got 3 goals there. But it was Spurs 1, Crystal Palace 0. And they go into this fixture off the back of a loss.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be disappointed. I mean, it's never an easy place to go. I know Tottenham have been in a bit of disarray lately. By the way, I'll be interested to know Danielle Gooch's score prediction because Dan's a friend of ours, so great that she's tuning into the show. But I can't wait to see that score prediction. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, I mean, we went to Tottenham and we did the business, but it's always a difficult place to go, even for a side like Crystal Palace. They'll have been disappointed from what I saw in the highlights and catching up with the game. They had their chances. That they're always creating chances. They weren't able to put any away, and obviously, when you've got players of the like of Harry Kane and Son at the top end of the pitch that Tottenham have got, they're always gonna. There's always a chance, a big chance that they're going to open you up and you're going to concede a goal. So they'll be disappointed, but all in all, that they've hit the 40 points. They're mathematically safe now. So whether it's a case of them sort of taking the foot off the gas a little bit, even subconsciously and being on the beach as you might want to call it, that might be the case. But narrow defeat, disappointing, but they'll be looking to get back on track. Of course they will on Saturday against us.
Yeah, I think there's 100 goals at home as well for Harry Kane. This is not a Tottenham preview, but that's a fantastic stat and another record that Harry Kane has broken. Now for the Cherries, we were going for 3 in a row, Matt, because we had those back-to-back wins for the second time this season. We were going for 3 in a row. We haven't done that since 2015-16. Eddie Howe did it twice in that first season. That was the last time we did it. We went into the game against Chelsea. Lots of fans at the stadium were confident. I didn't see you there, but there were lots of fans at the stadium that were confident, didn't think we would lose. But they've got players in their team that we know, again, have match winners. But this is not a side that are showing any form, that are not sort of touching the heights that they normally want to touch and trophies they want to get their hands on. But Chelsea took all 3 points. It was a bit disappointing in the end. I didn't think we were bad, Matt, on the day. I thought there were spells where we took our foot off the gas too early. I didn't feel like we had the intensity that we've had weeks before. And I was worried before the game that we would start to think like we were on the beach. And I felt like at times it was a little bit, but they took their moments. There were some poor moments in there for us as well. Yeah, just on the day, a little bit disappointed, but I wouldn't say we were that bad. But it was 3-1 to Chelsea last weekend at Dean Court.
No, I don't think we were bad. I think we played some great football at times, and we had some big chances. Don't we? And it's the same old story again at this level, that you have to take the chances when they come your way. And you look at it there. I mean, it's pretty even. Yeah, you'd expect Chelsea to probably dominate possession a little bit, but if you look at the shots on and off target, we've more than matched them. We've had our opportunities. Again, penalty decision doesn't go our way. Never going to, is it, this season? I don't think. We haven't had a penalty all season. That's probably not going to change. We can't rely on the officials or VAR to help us out. For me, that could have gone either way, that penalty decision. It was a 50-50 decision, but they don't seem to be going for us. So that was unfortunate. And we did miss some opportunities. Watara was guilty of a bad miss, or at least one.
Yes.
I think Solanke had a couple of chances as well. Ryan Christie. So the positive is we're creating chances. And let's not forget, Chelsea are in horrendous form, or had been in horrendous form. But when you look at their squad, put the two squads together, I just felt last Saturday, I didn't think we were going to win the game, and we went on such a good run. But and everybody was starting to tip us. Everybody was saying, "Oh, Bournemouth beat Chelsea today; they'll go above them." And whenever that happens, you start to worry. And I was thinking, I don't think we'll win the game. I'll take a draw all day long last Saturday, and I would have done it 1-1. I would have taken that. But you look at the quality they've got, the quality that they're bringing off the bench. And what they can do to you, those players, they don't turn into bad players overnight, do they? And they managed to get the job done in the end. And that's the fine margins again, Kirk, isn't it? That's the difference between the two teams, is ultimately the quality in both boxes at times that we've just got to improve on again and build on for next year.
Yeah, we'll have a little bit of a conversation as well about some standout performances again from that 3-1 loss. But I can't ignore, Matt, the softness of the goals we conceded. 2, definitely for me. I know you can look at any goal and think that you could have done better, but 2 was so easy to score against us. Again, balls in the box. The first one's Gallagher, too easy. The second one's the centre-back for Chelsea, just literally walks in a straight line, runs in a straight line and gets on the end of it. The third one, you're making changes, trying to get back in the game later on. Okay, it goes in from João Felix. The first 2, they're just not good enough, Matt. I mean, we've got to do something about that in pre-season going into next season, because too many goals we've conceded from set pieces and balls in the box. I think we are the worst team for conceding those types of goals this season.
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt. I feel like it's been the case for years and years and years, Kurt, that we've been talking about this. I think there was an issue with Eddie, even when Eddie was in charge, about goals we were conceding and balls into the box and us being too soft, it being too easy for opposition to score from set plays, from balls lofted into the box. I think it goes back, I can remember, 10, 12 years ago, I can remember Huddersfield away in playoff semi-finals where balls into that season and seasons beyond that, where balls into the box we're unable to deal with. It seems to be a sort of a mentality or a sort of a disease, if you like, that's been within the club for years and years and years. But the worry for me is that it is far too easy, and it goes back to you've hit the nail on the head. It goes back to what I was saying as well. In both boxes, we have to improve. We have to be more clinical, and we have been in spells, but there's opportunities and chances throughout this season that we've had that you'd expect at this level for us to bury and take those chances. And when you don't, ultimately you're going to get punished. And if you can't defend at the other end, and worryingly for me is that at home seems to be worse. I mean, the contrast for me is a concern, Kirk. To go from the 3-2 away at Tottenham and the 1-0 at Leicester and those performances, those solid, impressive performances, to then suddenly get beat 4-0 at home by West Ham and some of the goals that we conceded that day, that is a drastic turnaround in a performance and a result from game to game. And it's that sporadic nature that worries me. That consistency does worry me. And a big part of that is defensively, our defending balls into the box. So that's partly a mentality and partly something that you can work on the training ground. But either way, Gary O'Neill and his coaching staff have got to address it in pre-season for next year.
What do you think that is then? Is it because, in a theory, there's less pressure on us on the road? Is it because the atmosphere is so delicate at Dean Court that one mistake and it can just, like a light switch, the atmosphere can just be killed? Is it because we're better set up on the road? I mean, what do you think it is that's doing that we're better? Well, we get as much wins away from home as we do at home. So I wouldn't say it's completely that. But why are we getting these better results on the road lately?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does come down to mentality. And I think at Dean Court, the pressure is on us. Yeah, it's a small stadium. There's only 10, 11,000 of us, but it's a tight stadium. And as much as it can be difficult position when things aren't going our way and when we get on top of an opposition, the crowd get behind us, it makes it really difficult for the opposition coming to our place. I think we as a fan base can sometimes make it difficult for ourselves as well. I think we're very quick to go silent or very quick to be a little bit critical in the stands when things aren't going our way at home. So I think that's a contributing factor. Obviously, the way we set up is different to the way we play away from home. And we're obviously looking to play very much on the break and on the counter away from home. And maybe there's more of a focus and more of a concentration when you go into the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or when you go into the Emirates. I think maybe you just give that extra % more concentration and focus because you're wary that you're going to a big team in a big stadium and you've really got to be at it. Whereas at home to maybe West Ham or Leeds United, maybe it's just that 1 or 2% that we're switching off at. But you have to look at it tactically as well and positionally. And I look at that ball that was lofted into the box for Patrick Bamford to get on the end of for Leeds United, and that's really and truly that's schoolboy stuff. You've got to defend that better. It was just a long ball lofted in, too easy for Bamford in between two central defenders to just nod that into the back of the net, pretty much unmarked and untroubled, really. So that sort of thing can be worked on the training ground. I'm surprised that it hasn't been to the length that we've sort of cut out those sort of goals that we're conceding, but we haven't. I don't think it helps that we've mixed up our central defensive partnerships a lot this year. It's either been forced by injury or suspension, or Gary O'Neill seems to chop and change it a little bit. So ordinarily you'd have a partnership in place, wouldn't you, that would be consistent where possible throughout the season, where we have gone through our centre halves. It's 1 minute it's Stevens and Metham, then it's Senesi and Kelly, then we're back to Stevens again. So that doesn't help because partnerships do form and understandings do form when you're working side by side with someone. We've gone back 3, we've gone back 4. So there has been a lot of tinkering and a lot of fiddling about, which obviously doesn't help matters. But so I think you can throw all of those factors into the mix, but ultimately it's got to be addressed for next season because we can't keep conceding the amount of goals we're conceding and the nature of the goals that we're conceding.
Totally agree. And I mean, short term as well, Tommy Elphick is in there, Coops is in there, Gary O'Neill, I'm sure, is going to want to see us be a little bit stronger defensively this weekend at Selhurst Park. For good performances in that loss, there were some good performances, Matt. I thought Lloyd Kelly again had some really good spells. There were moments again where he was poor on the ball, but I thought he really dealt with the strength and the pace, dealing with the attacking speed that Chelsea had. I thought again, Ryan Christie, for his running, his teamwork. I've been saying for weeks, Matt, it's now time for him to add numbers. If he adds numbers, stats, goals, he will have a longer stay in this side. Just running hard, just being a good team player, man marking someone, doing the job for Gary O'Neill keeps you in the team for a good period of time. But you've got to add numbers in the areas of the pitch that he's playing in. That's now a first assist for him. The assist he got for Matthias Vigna, who's got another great goal. It was a great goal, 3-1 loss, but what a great goal. There were some good performances, individual performances at times in that loss. And give us some of those thoughts on those players I've just mentioned.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Ryan Christie for me is absolutely phenomenal. I watched him not just against Chelsea, but in recent games. I'll take the Leeds United game in isolation. He was, he starts is running and he's tracking back, and his heat map is unbelievable. And at minute 91, he's still running to the extent that he was running at minute 1 or 2. He is everywhere. The fitness of the bloke is absolutely phenomenal. The physical fitness and the durability of him. He's putting in challenges. He's tracking back. He works so hard for the team. If he could add numbers to his game in terms of assists and goals to his game, we would have one hell of a player on our hands, and he'd be up there for me with the best wingers or even number 10s in the Premier League because he's that good. His work rate and his effort and his commitment is unquestionable every game consistently. Never drops, never falters. So you're absolutely right, Kirk. He has to work on being better in the penalty area because he does have a nosebleed once he gets in. 9 times out of 10, a ball goes astray, a shot goes into the keeper's hands or past the post, or he gets dispossessed, and it's really frustrating. And Gary O'Neill must be frustrated. Ryan Christie's probably frustrated by it. Somehow we've got to get that out of him because in there is a hell of a player, and I love him for it. I love his commitment and his effort. Vigna, question marks over him defensively. You've talked about him. I think, he's coming in, replacing Jordan Zamora, but I think the same issues exist. I mean, defensively, Jordan Zamora, there was big question marks, but offensively, he had a lot to offer. And I think the same could be said with Matthias Vigna as well. He's got to adapt. He's come from Serie A, very different pace, very different style of football in the Italian league to what it is in the Premier League. So it's going to take him a while to adapt to that. Bear in mind, he's been injured. He's only really just come into the side in the last month. There's a player in there without doubt. I mean, some of the, he's already grabbed a couple of goals, and great goals they are as well. And he's been involved in some great build-up play as well. I like the look of him going forward, but we need to work on his defensive side. For me, he's an upgraded Rico. But there's some work to do. Whether we can get the best out of him defensively is the answer, because we really need that, particularly when we're playing in a back four. You need your left back to be solid all game. So there's 2 of the players you mentioned. Who else did you cover? Lloyd Kelly.
Kelly. At
Lloyd
times,
Kelly
I thought he had moments where he gave the ball away again, but I thought his strength and dealing with the pace that the attackers had for Chelsea, he uses his body really well lately.
Physically, Lloyd Kelly is a match for anybody, and his athleticism is a match for anybody in this division, in any division. I think the problem Lloyd Kelly has, firstly, he's a confidence player. So earlier in the season, when you had fans booing him or getting on his back, that's the worst thing in the world you can do with Lloyd Kelly, because he's going to go to pieces. And we saw it. He is a confidence player. He needs an arm around him all the time, I would say, in terms of the man management needed for him. And he needs the fans to be behind him. He needs his teammates to be behind him. And he breeds off of that. He thrives off of that confidence. When he makes a mistake, it affects him. Obviously, he is a massive confidence player, but the ability is clearly there. Technically, a very good player. Very, very good with the ball. His balance, his control is all there. He can read the game well. He can get up. He can head a ball. Potentially, as an all-round centre-half, he's got the lot. he's just got to cut out the mistakes. He's got to be a bit more. He's got to show a bit more conviction and a bit more composure at times. He can be a bit lackadaisical as well, a bit too laid back at times. He can lose possession. He can make a mistake. But if you can coach that, I mean, you can't coach it out of him. But if you can get the best out of him in terms of man management, then he's got everything to offer, Lloyd Kelly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Good.
Interesting what this team's going to look like next season, because I'm sure we'll add more players in pre-season. You've got Traore to really come in and show what he's all about. This is where Ryan Christie's got to be a little bit more dynamic, because there are going to be good players and only 11 spots next season. Now, do hit the like button, do subscribe. We are going to bring you now a 3-minute clip. It's a Crystal Palace opposition view from D, and he is from the Back of the Nest.
What's going on, people? It's D here from Back of the Nest, Crystal Palace YouTube channel, to give a quick preview ahead of the game between Palace and Bournemouth on the weekend. Before I start, thank you for having me on the channel. And my general thoughts ahead of the game are that both set of fans and players are relaxed going into this game. It seems like you guys have stayed up. Palace have also stayed up. And mathematically, we're safe. I think Bournemouth need another point or so. But yeah, I think it's a relaxed game. Earlier on in the season, when we did face you guys, I was actually very surprised because it was relatively easy away from home. But I know that this Bournemouth side have changed. They've been red hot on form recently, playing some good football, getting some decent results. And before I talk about Palace, I just want to say hats off to Bournemouth, because Bournemouth were in a position where people were talking about them saying they are 100% going down. And who else is going down with Bournemouth? But Gary O'Neill and the players have proved everyone wrong. You've managed to stay up comfortably, not leaving it to the last day. The turnaround in form, sticking with your manager has been absolutely fantastic for you guys. So first of all, congratulations to Bournemouth for staying in the Premier League, because that was a massive challenge this season, considering that you had to change managers and bring in players. So hats off to you guys. And you know what? Part of me saying, it should be an exciting game because, both set of clubs, they don't have much expectations apart from league finishes. And league finishes does mean a lot to football clubs because of how much each league finish is worth, around £2 million. And for clubs like Palace and Bournemouth, that could add up, especially if you finish 2 places above or 2 places below. So I think it should be an exciting game for both teams. I feel like there won't be any major expectations. Palace are coming into this game with a negative result against Tottenham. Not just a result, but arguably our worst performance ever since Roy's come in, because of the plays that we had on the pitch against Tottenham and the expectations. We just didn't live up to it. So it was a big question mark going into this game based on that performance. But I feel like both set of players, if you don't give them, much restriction, which we haven't done ever since Roy's come to the club, I feel like there could be goals in this game, and I think it could be exciting. But the players that you need to watch out for in terms of Palace's perspective, I feel like Eze is red on form. He's one to look out for. Elise, Doucouré in midfield. I think Gay and Anderson are solid defensively as well. So we've got a few players here and there that Bournemouth fans would already know if you watch Palace and if you keep up with Premier League, that are really decent on form. But against Tottenham, it wasn't as great as I expected. So look, who knows? I'm looking at Bournemouth's team. I know there's a few quality players there that could, even out in terms of Palace and Bournemouth. Last time, I believe that you guys came to us when you got relegated. I believe it was like a 5-3 game. I'm not expecting a similar type of result, but I'm expecting maybe a 1-0, 2-0 Palace. It could go both ways, but thank you for having me on the channel, and all the best for the rest of the season and next season.
And that was D from Back of the Nest. So thank you very much for giving us your opposition view, and do give them a like and do check them out. Details should be in the description below, and they'll have more content on their preview as well. Matt, he talked about some players then for Crystal Palace to look out for. Elise, Eze, we know that Sahar, if he's fit, will be playing. Jordan Ayew. That was their side last weekend. I'm not sure Sam Johnston was a regular for Patrick Vieira. I think he's come in since Roy Hodgson has, but I might be wrong. But again, they are a pretty steady side. You've got Chalup, who is originally a left back, but now pushed into midfield. They've got good players. Look, they've got good players. I think there are goals in this game when we talk about score predictions later on. That was the squad last weekend. Are you expecting it to be very similar?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, just to say that D's a top lad. I did a like I said, I did a preview show with him on New Year's Eve for the Palace game, and he's he is a top lad. He's got some great views. I thought that was brilliant. Credit where credit's due. He gave us some praise as well. Love to hear that. And he's a good lad. Good channel. Check it out if you get the chance. So I don't expect many to. They play a classic 4-3-3, Kirk, don't they? So it's it's similar in formation to where we're going to be. I think, as with a lot of games in the Premier League, midfield is where it's won a lot of. We can get hold of Decore in the midfield. Jeff Lerma, we're looking towards or maybe Joe Rothwell to try and stifle him in midfield, because if they get on the front foot and start playing with Eze, Elise, and Zaha, and Schlupp as well has got some pace to burn down the left hand side. They've got a real threat in wide areas, and what I like about them is they interlink very well. So Eze will come inside, he'll link with Zaha and Elise, and once they get into these little triangles, and once they get on the ball and they start playing, and they've got technical ability and pace and strength, it's going to be hard to live with. So if they get on top of us in the midfield, then we're going to have some problems, because they'll get the crowd will get right behind them, and we'll be on if we're on the back foot, we're going to have some issues. So it'll be interesting to see if we can stifle them in those areas and impose ourselves on the game. I think Dee's right. It could be a relaxed sort of game. I think the shackles could be off for both sets of players, really, in many ways, and you can expect goals. I expect there to be goals in this one. I think both teams can play some great football, some expansive football. We've both got pace and power in our team, and technical ability in wide areas and going forward. So I expect to see an entertaining and open game, Kirk.
Yep, Eze is their top goal scorer. I think Elise is their top assist maker. Sahar might be going into his final 3 games for Crystal Palace, because he might be looking at one of his last major moves. But I think Crystal Palace are quite keen, I'm hearing, to keep him at the club. So it might come down to a little bit of money as well. Looking at Bournemouth, when we look at the predicted 11 in a moment, Matt, we've got some images here from the training ground. We know the press conference comes out on Friday. Looking at players available, I think, or not available, I think we know that Tavernier is not going to be risked. There is no point risking Marcus Tavernier from here on in. He's had that tough hamstring to deal with, and we need him next season. So they need to get that right. Stanislas, I think, has already been confirmed as done for the season. Fredericks as well. So there's your images, or an image of Jeff Lerma, a player that's also considering his future. Might be a small chance he stays. But apart from those 3 players, you've got Zabani on the bench recently. Do we look at switching the centre-backs up again? But you talked about the risks involved with that, because I don't want to see this season fizzle out. As I said, Matt, I really want us to get some positive points. I want us to play like every point matters. Can we get to 40 at least? And there are players that are going to want to get some minutes in before the end of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a difficult one to predict, really, as to what Gary will do on time. He's got Jack Stevens available, I believe, again now. I'm a big believer, as I think you are, Kirk, in centre halves being one right-footed, one left-footed for balance. We haven't quite got that with Lloyd Kelly and Marcus Senesi at the moment. Chris Meffam and Jack Stevens, have both had fantastic seasons. Zabani, there's no need to utilise, he's for next season for me. Let's get him up to full fitness. Let's get a great good pre-season behind him. Maybe we could blood him a little bit, maybe the last game or so, or give him some minutes. But does he take one? We conceded 3 at the end of the day against Chelsea. Does he swap the centre halves around again? I can't see him changing too much else further up the pitch. I think Rothwell in recent weeks has been a revelation for me. In a deeper role. I listened to an interview with Gary O'Neill where he was very front foot and very sort of offensive when he was at Blackburn. And he's adapted his game. He's a physical lad. He reads the game so well. He's got some good abilities about him with the ball at his feet. And he's been a revelation in that, if you want to call it, number 6 role, which has allowed Jeff to flourish as well alongside him. So I don't see that changing. And we all know what Philip Billing can offer. And Ryan Christie is run his absolute heart out, and he got his assist, bless him, last week. He deserves to keep his place. And Ouattara, flatters to deceive sometimes, but sometimes brilliant, sometimes frustrating. You're going to get that from a young player adapting in the Premier League that's come from abroad. Do we stick with him, or do we take him out the firing line for a game and try Jadon Anthony, perhaps, who's not done a lot wrong when he's been upon this season? He's had his moments. So yeah, it's a difficult one really, but I do feel as though formation wise we'll match him up, and we'll probably go with that type of formation. We'll keep the flat back four, and sort of go a 4-3-3 if you like, or a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, do let us know in the chat how many changes you'd make for Saturday. Maybe Jaden Anthony to be considered. Dango Utara generally plays when Tavernier's not fit. But do put your sort of thoughts in the chat as we're talking about the predicted 11, because we are going to talk about this for a few more minutes, Matt. Let's talk about those centre-backs. I was sort of looked at as being a little bit mad at the start of the season when I said that I didn't like two left-footed centre-backs. I know that John Spark is very good with his stats and positioning, and he sort of looked at me and thought, are you all right? Are you all right? But do you know what it is, Matt? Right footers is notoriously two right-footed centre-backs. We've seen it for many years. But what I feel with left footers is the balance. So if someone's running at Senesi, it's not natural for him to have to turn a different way to when he's on the left-hand side. And when you're playing out, it's always that you always want to go back past your goal instead of going out towards Smith. And I did think at the weekend, actually, that it confirmed some of my fears, that I thought Senesi struggled on the right of the two, and I didn't like it. I think Gary O'Neill likes Lloyd Kelly. I think we can see that Lloyd Kelly's had some really good performances at centre-back. But I just don't like it, Matt. There is something about it that it just looks uncomfortable, whether it's Lloyd Kelly playing there. I don't think Lloyd Kelly's played to the right, but Senesi has definitely done it. And he just looks uncomfortable. Players running at him. He doesn't turn well. He doesn't want to play out to Smith. And it's all just a little bit dangerous. It doesn't make sense completely, but I know what I'm trying to say when I was saying earlier on in the season. And it seems like you sort of get it as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a big believer in the balance in a back, particularly in a back four. And I just feel, for me, the ideal scenario would be to have a right footer at right centre back and a left footer at left centre back, and then obviously a left back with a predominant left foot and a right back with a predominant right foot. I don't like it when Adam Smith has been played at left back. I get the reasons for it sometimes on a tactical level. I know home to Leicester, he did it for the purpose of picking up James Maddison and doing a job on him, and that worked a treat on the day. But predominantly speaking, when you're working as a unit and you're defending and attacking as a unit and you're moving up and down that football pitch, you want balance, and you want players, you want square pegs in square holes. So for me, two left footers in the centre of defence is not natural for me. And I just think that Chris Meffam's had a fantastic season, but Jack Stevens for me is up there as player of the season. I think he's been an absolute revelation. The only reason he came out of the team really is because he couldn't play against Southampton because it was his parent club, and obviously there was an agreement in the loan deal that stated he couldn't play against them, and he hasn't got in since then. And I just think that's such a travesty because he's been so commanding, and I think of his performance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He's absolutely awesome. If that was one of the top centre halves in the Premier League, everybody would be creaming over it. They'd be waxing lyrical. He's been phenomenal. So for me, he would probably come back. He would be the one to come back into the side, maybe alongside either Kelly or Senesi.
We know we're going to have some debates when the season's out. Well, look, we're going to do more live streams when the season ends. We want to talk about players of the season, what players will stay, what players will go. So subscribe to Cherries Red Army. But you've made a good point, Matt, because Mepham up there for me, player of the season up to the World Cup. I might just drop him out as player of the season since the World Cup because maybe he's not had enough games, and some players have added value and got us points and goals. You're talking about Tavernier, like crucial goals, Philip Billing, crucial goals, and they will always swing a little bit for me. But when you look at that, do you sign Stevens if you're looking at Zabani as probably your number one centre back, if he's as good as he really is, with a full pre-season, 20 million quid? Senesi now has had a season under his belt. So in my head, I'm almost thinking, is it going to be looking at Senesi and Zabani? But you've got Lloyd Kelly. I don't think clubs are going to be paying 20, 30 million quid for Lloyd Kelly now, even though Lloyd Kelly's got better. You've got Mepham, who signed a new contract. I would sign Stevens, Matt, but I don't know. I don't see how he gets in this side next season.
It really is a difficult one. It really is, and you couldn't have predicted this really. I mean, obviously, he signed Zabani with a view to the future, and I like that. I like that philosophy within our football club, signing young players with massive potential, massive pedigree. Yes, there's a big transfer fee potentially involved, but you're signing them with a view to the long term. You're looking at a long-term plan of us competing at the top level, and you're looking at developing a player that could be a top defender, years down the line, that could serve us incredibly well and keep us playing at the top end of the football pyramid. And then we could hopefully do some good business, if we did cash in on him one day, because that's the type of model that we have to follow, like Brighton do, like Brentford do. They bring through their own players, but whenever a player leaves the football club, it's like a conveyor belt. There's always another one that they've scouted that they're bringing in behind them, and it's always with an eye on the long term and an eye on the future. So I like that. I like that way of thinking. And Jack Stevens, I would sign him. I mean, I just think he's been phenomenal. I think he's been our best defender. I'd stick my neck on the line and say he's been our best defender this season. So it depends on the transfer fee. I'm not sure what the fee would be. Obviously, if it's going to be
Southampton might need in mind.
Yeah, but would he want to even drop into the Championship with them? Would he? I mean, he's a Premier. He's proved himself as the question mark. The big thing for me, Kirk, is that there was a massive question mark over the signing. We were saying, well, why would we want a defender that can't get in Southampton's team? They're struggling at the foot of the table. They've got nothing good to say about him. Their fans, really. He's error prone. He's not getting in their team. What do we want him for? But he's been an absolute revelation. Yeah. And again, it goes back to my earlier point. Football is a confidence game. And obviously the man management of Jack Stevens has been first class. And you have to credit Gary O'Neill there. You have to credit the coaching staff, all of which, ironically, are defenders, aren't they, in the backroom staff? Sean Cooper, Tommy Elphick, Eddie Howe before that, Jason Tyndall. Still can't defend the ball in the box. But the man management of the defenders has been phenomenal. And there's been 5 good centre-backs that we've got at the club now. And to keep them all happy and all motivated and all competitive is a great achievement, and hats off to the coaching staff. So Jack Stevens, dependent on the transfer fee, if it's sub 10 million, if it's under 10 million pound, get him, sign him up.
And not to go into this deep conversation, but it will be for pre-season. What will be the identity and philosophy of AFC Bournemouth next season? Because if it's a back 3 with potentially signing Bina as a wing back, then you might see the good reason why Bournemouth will sign Stevens. Want a quick shout out as well while we're talking about this, Matt. Lewis Cook. What is Lewis Cook thinking about in the last 3 games now? Jeff might stay. Rothwell is absolutely snatched that spot. Lewis Cook has had 2 really bad knee injuries. We know Bournemouth fans love Lewis Cook. I think he's not been at his best this season. I think he's at times slowed the game down. I look at Lewis Cook, Matt, and think this was a player in my vision that was going to be a driving Jack Wilshere, and those injuries probably held him back. Then Jason Tyndall, I think, said he's not really that type of player. He's more of a holding player. Then he's competing with Jeff Lerma. Then he's had good spells. Then he's got injured. That Lewis Cook seems to be on the fringe. I mean, where's his future lie if Jeff Lerma signs? And what's he going to be looking at these last 3 games? Can he get on this pitch enough?
Yeah, I really feel for Lewis Cook, because he's had some really, really bad injuries, and it's really messed up his career, hasn't it? Let's be honest. We didn't know what Lewis Cook was. We sort of knew what he was before his injury, as more of a sort of a creative midfielder. Then he got his injury, and then he's sort of evolved, because maybe, as you say, Kurt, because of his injuries. And it's almost like, last season he was playing in an advanced role at times. He looked lost. He didn't know what he was. I don't think he didn't know what his remit was on the pitch either at times. But it's almost like now he said, "All right, okay, I've had the injury, so I know what I am now. I'm more of a holding midfielder. I can read the game. I can break play up. I can set attacks moving. That's me now. That's the Lewis Cook and that's the type of player I am. Unfortunately, he's got Joe Rothwell in his way, and to a certain extent, Jeff Lerma in his way. And we've heard the rumours this week about Jeff. Possibly other Premier League clubs are now being linked to him. There's offers going in left, right, and centre for him. And by all accounts, he's torn because he's so settled here. He loves the football club. Big connection with the fans, with the players. What will he stay? Will he go? It's all up in the air still. But if you're Lewis Cook, then you've got one eye on next season, haven't you? Thinking, where is my role in this? Because if Jeff Lerma goes, then invariably we're going to bring somebody else in to try and replace him, aren't we? If we can. where do I sit within this team, within this football club now? It's a really you had a player who, he had an England call up before his injuries, was on the verge of establishing himself in the England squad, to now, thinking, where do I go from here? I might have to drop down a league to start again. It's been quite cruel, really, in terms of his career, because a lad with so much potential, and still has for me. He can still get back there. I'm sure he can, but it's going to be difficult for him, I think, now.
I think it will be. Right, we do hope you're enjoying this match preview of Crystal Palace live on YouTube and Twitter, and it's your moment. It's that 1 minute warning for those score predictions at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace taking on Bournemouth. What do you think the score will be on Saturday, 3 p.m? Get those score predictions in the chat, but there are other Premier League fixtures going on this weekend. It's match day 36. Leeds United take on Newcastle at Ellen Road. Massive game for Eddie Howe and Newcastle. Southampton against Fulham. Chelsea taking on Nottingham Forest. Aston Villa against Spurs. Man United, our next opponents, taking on Wolves. Crystal Palace against Bournemouth. Everton versus Manchester City. Brentford, West Ham. Arsenal, Brighton. And on Monday night, it's Leicester versus Liverpool. Now, Matt, we're going to get those score predictions in a moment. We'll pop into the chat as well. And we know that we want to get a positive result off the back of losing against Chelsea, but we could not get a positive result. And by the end of this weekend, be mathematically safe if other results go our way. Looking at the rest of the Premier League fixtures, got your eye on anything?
Yeah, I have. I mean, that Leeds Newcastle game for me to start with on 12:30 on Saturday. The early kickoff looks like a mouth-watering clash. And Sam Allardyce back at Leeds. Is he going to get the? We saw him last week at Man City. They look more solid. He's obviously going to get a bit of a tune out of them. Is he got enough? Is he going to have enough time? They got a tough run in. I think they got to go to West Ham. They got Tottenham as well. This is a massive game for Leeds United and for Newcastle in terms of their Champions League pursuit after the defeat against Arsenal. So it will be really interesting to see what happens in that one. Because for me, I think if Leeds lose that against Newcastle, they're in real trouble at the bottom with just 2 games remaining then. And if Newcastle get beat, they're in trouble in the Champions League places. So that is the standout game for me. Chelsea, Nottingham Forest. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, Chelsea got back to winning ways last week. Do they carry that momentum on against Forest, who find a way to concede goals as well, ship goals for fun? They got a tough run in as well. I think they got Palace away on the last day. They got Arsenal next. So this, what they do in this game, there's a lot on the line for Forest in this one. Everton, Man City, you wouldn't imagine that Man City would go to Everton and lose the game, but you just never know. Going to Goodison is never easy for anybody. When the crowd get up there and get behind them, with Sean Dyche managing an Everton team who've just on the back of a 5-1 win at Brighton, which I couldn't see coming out of, that's come out of nowhere for me. He's obviously got them going. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. I mean, you can look through, there's some big games everywhere at this stage of the season. Leicester, Liverpool on Monday night is huge as well. And again, it's the same as Leeds, Newcastle, both ends of the table, massive implications. And Leicester, for me, looking in real trouble. I came on the show a few weeks ago and I thought Leicester would be okay. They were in trouble then, but I thought they would pull themselves out of it. But if they do so, they're leaving it really late because they look poor again. They look like they're going to ship goals. Yet, they can score a few at the other end, but the way they're conceding at the moment, it's not a recipe for success at all, is it? So, yeah, interesting times.
And anyone panicking that Bournemouth are not quite safe yet, let me just reassure you, Leeds and Leicester would have to win 3 games in a row. They haven't done that all season. And if Everton don't beat Manchester City and Leeds don't beat Newcastle and Leicester don't beat Liverpool, it's all done. We're safe. But we want to finish this season properly. We don't want it to see it fizzle out and think we're on 39 points. We're safe. Let me give you some numbers, Matt, as well, while you think about your score prediction. Right. We haven't won at Crystal Palace since 2015. So that must have been our first Premier League season. I think it was 2-1, I think. Haven't scored versus Crystal Palace in the last 4 fixtures. I think that's a bit of cup and a bit of league. And we haven't drawn a football match since February against Newcastle. So there's some numbers for you. We got some scores going in the chat. This is your last moment to put your score prediction in the chat. Thanks for joining us. What am I going for then, Matt? I'm going to go first and then you can go last. So both teams lost. We haven't got a positive result really at Crystal Palace for an awful long time. I do think we score. I haven't really thought about my score prediction, Matt, actually. It's just going to come out now. I don't really know, but I'm going to go for it. Look, we've been really good on the road, haven't we? We've got some really good results. 2-1. 2-1 to the Cherries, and maybe Dom gets on the score sheet again. I'm going to go for it. I think it could be end-to-end, a bit basketball at times, and hopefully it's like that for the fans as well, and it's a really good football match. Let's get some score predictions out on the screen. Just before I do that, Ryan did put a comment in there. Something I mentioned earlier, not enjoying this new ID at the gate policy. So this is a statement that the club have released. There's been some instances recently on away days where fans have done some stuff they shouldn't be doing, and then they've realised that it's not actually their ticket. Look, I don't know, Matt. I don't think it's going to be easy to police this. I understand that the clubs are trying to protect people. Look, we want to have a good time when we're there as well, so we need to behave as best as we can. I don't think it's easy to police ID. I don't even think your name is on an away ticket, so I don't even know how that's going to work. We know from away days it's even quite tough to get through the gate if you're leaving it a bit late to get there. So asking for everyone's ID, they can't do that really for kids. That's quite difficult. I don't know if that's just a bit of a scare tactic, but don't risk it. Take ID. But Matt, I don't think that's really manageable for the stewards, really, in my opinion.
I think it's completely over the top, Kirk, if I'm honest. Let's get it in perspective. We're probably, out of all the clubs in the Football League, I would hazard a guess to say that we're probably one of the most well-behaved. So what other clubs are doing this in the Football League, let alone the Premier League, throughout the Football League, 92 clubs, and even in the National League? How many other clubs are asking away fans that are travelling the length and breadth of the country, spending good money, to take ID with them to get themselves into a football match to support their club? I think this is totally over the top. I won't go as far as saying it's a violation of human rights, but it's virgin. I think it's well OTT for a few isolated and let's be honest, they are isolated incidents here. We're talking what was it, 13 incidents in the last 5 away games or 3 away games?
Yeah, something like that.
You're talking about a minority, and what we take into Palace on Saturday, 2,700 fans. So you're going to ID every single fan going through that turnstile. Borderline ridiculous for me, and well over the top in terms of the reaction to that. I don't see how they can police it. Don't see how they can do it. Slightly ridiculous.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it. If you've got ID, take it. They might cherry pick. I can't see them IDing 2,700 people. I just don't see it. But let's see what happens, and do report back to us what might happen. Let's get some score predictions then. It's been a great preview for Crystal Palace. Cameron Leach, thank you very much. He is joining me, Matt, with a Crystal Palace 1, Cherries 2. I think Mark is going for a 3-2 to the Cherries. We've got Gladstone going for a 2-2. AFCB Fan TV is going for Bournemouth 2, Crystal Palace 1. Sean Woodland, thank you very much, is going for a 2-2. That would get us on 40 points. Next week, we've got Manchester United at home. I highly recommend, if you're going to that game, you can go to Queen's Park Golf Course pre-match. Go and grab a drink, go and grab a bite to eat. They've got a Cherries menu. Go and check it out. Sean Woodland can tell you everything about it if you follow Queen's Park Golf Course on Twitter, or Sean Woodland. But go do that before the game against Manchester United. I'll try and remember, Sean, to mention it next week as well. Alan's going for 3-2 to the Cherries. We're going 3-1 to the Cherries. Paul Town. We're going 3-2 to the Cherries. Alan, some good scores coming through here. Matt, Rob, gutted train strikes, had to send my ticket back. So gutted for you, Rob. But thank you for joining us tonight. And it's 2-2, his score prediction. Chris is going 3-2. And Morgan, I think, has got 13. Surely not 13-0. Matt, there's lots of good score predictions in there. It's been great to have another preview stream. Morgan's going in with 3-0, clean sheet. No goals conceded by set pieces or in the box. Matt, what's your score prediction for Saturday?
I'm going to go with Rob, Sean, and Gladstone, who have said 2-2. I'm going 2-2 as well. Always positive. Never going to predict us to lose. But I just feel that there is goals in the game, and I think that they've got real quality. We've got quality as well. I think the teams are actually fairly evenly matched when you look at it on paper. they didn't perform particularly well in their last game. They're on the beach. We're on the beach a little bit. The pressure's off. The shackles are off. Like you say, Kirk, we haven't drawn a game, have we, since February, home to Newcastle.
February, 2 months, 11th of February.
Yeah, I just feel that this is ripe. This is ripe for a draw. This one, so there's goals in it. 2-2 would be my prediction.
Maybe a Jeff Lerma screamer. Maybe a
Maybe a
Jermaine Defoe like Dom Solanke volley from a Cruyff area of the pitch. Maybe interesting. 2-2. Now, I can't go to Crystal Palace away. Unfortunately, Matt will be there. Aaron Kay will be there. So if you see them, do say hello. We'll try and get you some content out. I might do a reaction stream after the game with John Spark, but do follow our socials, do follow YouTube, and we'll let you know. It'll go on there, so you'll be able to see if there is a live show. If not, we'll get a reaction to you. Then we'll be back for Manchester United next week. Then I'll be at that game. I'll be going to Everton, so we'll get a final couple of vlogs out for you as well. And we've got some end of the season streams that we want to do like this, live on YouTube, get you involved. Looking forward to it, Matt. Matt, it's been great again. As I said, you're going to the game. Your final thoughts before kickoff at 3 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, it feels weird because usually the season's done and dusted by now, in the middle of May, and where we are, the 13th of May, and
I think Danielle went for 2-0 to Crystal Palace. So it was really early on that she went.
Oh yeah, I didn't see Dan's prediction. Was it 2-0 Palace? Was it? Fair enough.
I'll see if I can find it while you're speaking.
She's going to back her boys. Yeah, I am sitting on the fence, Dan. Yeah, I'll take a point all day long. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, 2-0 Saturday. Yeah, bring it on. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. Middle of May, and we're still going on away days. Sun hopefully will be shining in London. Old school away, proper away day this one. Let's get down there. My mate's driving, Sammy Summers, and me and Ash will be in the car, the three of us. We managed to park up. The rail service is chaos. We managed to park up about a quarter of an hour away. So hopefully I'll see a few lads and ladies that are watching this in the boozer. And at the game, look forward to it, and let's have a good day out and up the Cherries.
Thank you very much, Matt. Have a good couple of days and enjoy your day in London.
Well, I will indeed, Kirk. Always a pleasure being on, and thanks to everybody for watching and subscribing as ever. Real pleasure. Thanks very much.
Subscribe to Cherries Red Army. We're on our way to 1.6k. Do it now. And also hit that like button. Can we get to a minimum of 50 likes? Really enjoyed being back on the streams. Thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening. If you've checked this video out after it was streamed, thank you very much. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments. Put your score predictions in there, your goal scorers. We're all welcome. We want to see them as well. So if you go into the game, do enjoy yourself. If you're around the world checking out the Cherries where you can, get behind the team. We are 1 point away from 40. We could get there on Saturday, especially if Matt's score prediction comes in. Thanks for joining us on this match preview. Look after yourself in the next couple of days. Come on, you Cherries. Let's get a result in London again. See you on the next one. Up Cherries.
Up the Cherries.